Welcome, Smite fans, to the first week of Split 3 of the SMITE Oceania Pro League. We are day 2 of our first week, and first up, we have got Corvidae versus Alpha Sydney. Corvidae back at the Pro League through fortuitous circumstances, depending on where you're standing. Alpha Sydney made it through the relegations process. I'm Husey. Joining me on the desk for this one is Alpha Jackal. So, Alpha, two old rivals facing off again here in the Pro League.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Alpha City came through the relegations. They only just scraped through against Corvidae. And in the relegations, obviously, they tied, and the tiebreaker went to Alpha Sydney. So this could be a very close game.
And there's another layer to this storyline as well. KO, the former solo laner for Corvidae, is now playing for Alpha Sydney. So, crossing enemy lines there, so to speak. On Corvidae, it's very much the same lineup that we saw at the end of last split. There were some roster changes, obviously, during the split. But Cryopraetor has stepped into the solo lane for the Bird Gang. Now, of course, Corvidae went 0-20 last split, didn't pick up a single game. So they're looking to start off this campaign on a solid footing. And during the relegations process, they actually split with Alpha Sydney and then had to play a tiebreaker. So they've shown the ability to take the games off Alpha Sydney. Whether they could do that here in the OPL where it actually matters, that's another story. We're going to go ahead and get to picks and bans in just a second. And we'll have to see what these two teams draft. Corvidae is going to have the first option here, so I expect them to get something probably relatively strong in the solo lane for the first pick, like we saw Team Pandemonium do against Legacy, to give Cryo a bit of a better chance against KO.
Well, there are three positions right now which have incredibly strong first pick ability picks, and that's going to be the solo lane with Ravana, the support with Terra and Fafnir, and it's also going to be the jungle where you have a wealth of options, including Susano, Alquang, and Nemesis. Although we haven't really seen too much Alquang. It's been banned this time by Corvidae, so maybe Alpha Sydney and Corvidae like this pick.
But on both of these teams, they've had some success with it. Corvidae, their first match in the OPL was against Avantgarde, and they nearly won that off the back of an Alcon pick in the jungle. The Raijin taken away by Alpha Sydney, and now Fafnir taken away by Corvidae. Raijin, as you can see, they're very high ban percentage, even in the first week here of the OPL, and that continues basically a trend from last split, where he was banned out around 80% of the time. Fafnir yet to be banned, but this is the first time I'm going to see him taken out. Terra banned as well by Alpha Sydney. We saw a little bit of play of Terra yesterday, but not much success, Andy.
No, that shows a bit of an experience. Very new god to competitive play. A lot of people won't know the correct strategies or the best way to play and build the character. So I would expect a couple weeks before we actually see a fantastic Terra come out. But Nemesis has been allowed for a long time, and Corvidae are going to pick that one up for the jungle. A lot of protection shred, no support is safe. Alpha Sydney going to follow up with the Susano and Neath. A very safe ADC followed up for a very high early game pressure jungler.
I mean, I'm actually very surprised that Corvidae chose his Nemesis first over Susano. Both of them are in a very good spot at the moment in the meta. Both of them very strong, but you just got to believe that the Susano is a little bit of a pick than the Nemesis. I mean, it accomplishes many of the same things that the Nemesis does in terms of movement, but it adds an extra element of power there. Nemesis as well is generally reserved for teams with to counter teams with high defense. For a first pick, it's a bit of an odd choice. Barkus and Freya now picked up for Corvidae. Pretty standard picks. I like the Freya pick for the ADC position for Pure Might. And Erlang Shen picked up here for Alpha Sydney. The first we're going to see of Erlang here in the regular split of the OPL. We saw him a little bit at the finals. Rowe played him to great success. Raven now banned out by Alpha Sydney. Great choice there to take that one away from Corvidae.
And I might look to ban out another auto-attack based warrior like Bellona away, just to make sure that Erlang Shen has got a fantastic lane opportunity and great poke ability against more of an ability-based warrior like a Sun Wukong or a Mana. Sol's going to be the ban away by Corvidae, and you can put these both in the ADC and the mid lane role, so banning Sol, who can again do both, means you keep your options open to see where this Neath is going.
Yeah, and Swifty's a very versatile mid as well. He's played ADC before in challenges, I believe, when he was still trying to find his spot on a team. So, he's definitely got the ability to play hunters in the mid role. Final ban from Alpha City going to be Janus, and Kronos taken away by Corvidae. So, really covering their options there. They're banning away both mids and ADC options. Rana for Alpha City, though, does like to play a little bit more late game hunters. So, he's more of a Ram style ADC than anything else. Sobek now going to be picked up here for Alpha Sydney for Tory Skies in the support role, one of his staple gods from last split.
And when we look at Corvidae now, what did they pick for the relatively inexperienced Cryopraetor? What did they pick him to go up against their former teammate of Kaio? And with Ravana being banned, Erlong Shen, there's not too much you can pick into. Sun Wukong is going to be the pickup here, but Erlong Shen has a very nice time poking up and healing up against this Sun Wukong, can actually dominate the lane against him if he doesn't get off to a good enough start. The Agni pick going to be met by the Poseidon pick as well for the mid lane role, so it's not a matchup you've seen too often.
And really, you think the Poseidon pick is a bit of a counter to the Agni dash, and when his dash is taken away by that Whirlpool Cripple, there's not really much else that the Agni can do. And, with the damage coming through from the Kraken and from the Susano as well, he's in for a bit of a rough time. You may have seen there as well, we had on the screen the last time they met, and you can see it was, every match was pretty much in favor of whoever played Corvidae last split. So, don't read too much into that, though, because this is a new split. These teams have gained a lot more experience. The skill gap between these teams has definitely closed. But really, in this matchup, when we take a look at it, it's all about the solo laners. KO for Corvidae was pretty much their star player. He was the one that managed to win lane against some of the better solo laners in the region and influenced a couple of team fights. Unfortunately, the rest of his team couldn't follow up. And he's traded out to Alpha City now. KO's got a lot of OPL experience, relatively speaking, compared to Cryo. Inexperienced. This lane matchup is going to be very difficult for Cryo to play.
And also, how much has KO told his new teammates in Alpha City about Corvidae, about how they operate, about what they are talking about? Do they say, oh, Desecrator doesn't talk too much, we can really focus him out, or somebody tilts very easily, we can just focus him early and start off a bit of a downward spiral? And it's up to Corvidae to make sure that the information that KO has given them is not relevant at all.
And maybe that's why we see the Agni. Maybe that's why we see the Freya. This is stuff that they didn't play a whole lot of last split. So maybe they're pulling out these kind of pocket pick guards against a team that on the basis that they have a former teammate of theirs knows them relatively well.
Like Desecrator, he recognizes the fact that Poseidon can cripple out his dash and stop any form of wave clear at level 1. So instead it's got his Flame Wave. It will not offer him as great a clear, but it will offer him a safer amount of clear. And they're going to go ahead and secure those left side mid Harpies.
I like this option as well from Trilogy and Desecrator, going for the left-hand side Harpies rather than trying to get the right-hand side Harpies. They recognize that Cryopraetor is going to get pushed out of the lane early, so it means KO can get an early rotation to the earlies or even to the right-hand side mid-camps. And we saw how devastating that was for Legacy yesterday when they tried to contest the right-hand side camps against a very strong Pandemonium squad.
So this is what Cryopraetor needs to do in this lane, is just clear the wave, ignore Erlong Shen until he's got the minion advantage, and then just look to poke him out as quickly as possible. Just to make sure you abuse the fact that you've got great clear with that Bluestone Pendant.
Exactly right. Right-hand side, KO actually stunned out there by Cryopraetor, getting a good amount of poke down onto him. So Cryo definitely not afraid at this point to commit himself to a little bit of a boxing match here in the solo lane. Now Cryo's one of these players that's been kind of hanging around the challenger scene for a long time. And, I've heard some positive words about him from some pros, but he's never quite managed to make it onto a team. He's definitely going to be feeling this chance to prove himself in the OPL.
But it's going up against, as we said, an experienced solo laner in Cryo. Let's have a look at the left-hand side as we see Kaisification. Going to be Rana and Tori Sky's going to get stunned out there.
And the Rana roots Pure Might into place here, flung back by Tori Skies by Kaisification, trying to keep his ADC alive, but Rana threads the needle there, grabs himself a first blood onto the AD carry of Corvidae.
And that's always the issue with playing up against the Sobek with this very passive lane of Bacchus Freya. You're always going to get pushed underneath your tower. The second Tori Skies gets an opportunity, he gets the block off, and with the high damage coming out of underneath early game, gets an easy first blood.
Oh, Kaisification there, tanking minion aggro and pinned in place by Rana. That's the thing about Bacchus as well, is if you're by yourself, you don't have the safest clear in the world, and trying to prevent minions getting under tower is just something you're really not going to have a great time doing.
And now Tori Skies and Rana have the option to just zone the wave out from both Freya and Kaisification, because there's nothing they can really do. So he gets a block onto Kaisification, forces the leap away. The banish is good from Pure Might to help save a support.
Rotation onto the right-hand side. Swifty and Slicey rotating over with to support KO here, potentially looking for a gank onto Cryo. Cryo looking into the jungle, seems like he spotted them out before they even got there, because he hasn't rushed up to the wave here. He's still looking there, just waiting for confirmation from either his team or for some minions that the mid laner and the jungler have rotated back to the mid lane.
I like the decision of Swifty as well to go into the Soulstone as his first starter item. So because as Poseidon, you want to get a lot of damage off early to transition into more of a CC boss in the late game, because your damage won't be there, but out comes the Divine Judgment. They're looking for Swifty, they might be able to pick him up here.
Trilogy going for it here, picks up the kill. Lurking the waters is Tory Skies, but the shield from Trilogy is good. There from Pure Mind actually takes Tory Skies out of the bomb damage. Desecrator dashing forward here, trying to get some more damage down onto Tory Skies, but Tory uses that sprint to get himself away there. So return kill there for Corvidae, but they lose their red buff in return. And it looks like they lost their blue buff as well.
Oh, that's a good invade coming out from Slicer. He recognizes he can't go over to the left-hand side to help out that fight, so instead looks to get an advantage on this right-hand side and gives it to KO as well.
Oh, we stole their speed buff as well. They stole both buffs. But they
He's
stole
gotten
all of
a
the
lot of
buffs.
pressure.
They
Yeah,
traded
got a
one person
lot
for
of
3
pressure
buffs.
now.
That's very good from Alpha Sydney. They traded out a kill their mid laner. You know, not the best person to trade out, but admittedly not the worst. And took all 3 buffs. That's definitely worth from Alpha Sydney.
Well, Swifty's playing Poseidon. It's more of an early game pick because you like to blow up the support as best as possible, and Bacchus will get natural protections, especially with the damage mitigation coming out from this passive. And Poseidon, he's not going to be too worried about dying early. You still have the amount of damage that he can output, even with a couple deaths.
He's actually still ahead of Desicca in terms of gold experience as well, so that death really means nothing for Alpha Sydney.
In fact, I'd say it's even worse, because it just meant that the fight and all the focus was on his left-hand side, meaning it was an easy invade on the right-hand side for 2 buffs.
Alright, Trilogy rotating to the left-hand side, but Alpha Sydney all back here, so no gank opportunity for him. Just looking to grab himself some farm and then head back into the jungle.
In the mid lane, classification joining with Desecrator, and I don't know, I haven't seen too much out of this Bacchus just yet. He's been forced to stay under tower and play a bit passively in the left-hand lane, but at least starting his rotations, I'd like to see him play a bit more aggressively onto Swifty.
Yeah, exactly right. Try and get this better position. Oh, misses the belly flop there onto KO. Bomb stun is good from Desecrator. Flame Wave as well. Force a turtle form away is the Erlang Shen, but Slicey is here as well. The pin off the mark there. It looks like Corvidae were able to secure at least 2 out of the 3 fire creeps.
Now they're possibly setting up for a gank in the middle lane as well. Tory Sky's looking for a block, but Slice is going aggressive on the classification, forcing the Bacchus to just play very passively, just run away.
Bomb off the mark, but a Flame Wave going to be able to clear up the mid lane. Alpha City now all rotating, looks towards the Gold Fury. They can bait out a fight here. They have the Kraken available. At this stage in the game, their team fight is a lot better than Corvidae's. You know, in the later stages of the game, the Nemesis and the Agni are going to be doing lots of damage, but right at this moment, the Kraken is such a huge element of Alpha City's team fight that's going to pretty much wipe out anyone on Corvidae it hits.
I think that's why Bacchus has got the sprint, just to allow people to get out of that whirlpool as quickly as possible. Because it counts as a slow. Yes, it pulls people in, but it's a slow primarily. And getting that sprint, getting that slow immunity...
Oh, look at this trap.
Out, but oh, this is not a good look for him, though.
Casification falls down. Slicey takes a lot of damage here, but manages to knock up Trilogy with the Typhoon. Trilogy still going for it. It's in with the slice and dice and gets back towards the mid lane. Pure Might coming in, slowing down Tory Skies and Rana Brana with that Pulse. Desecrator doing what damage he can. He's actually out of mana here. Won't be able to dash away from any further damage coming out from Alpha Sydney, but nothing else coming out of it. So actually Corvidae getting a return kill onto an excellent trap by Alpha Sydney.
So a 1-for-1 trade, classification falls down for Slicey. I think that's worth for Corvidae. Yeah, they trade out their support, but he's wanting to get towards the late game before he starts coming into the foray. Before he starts actually being a major presence around the map, because that's what Bacchus does. Early game, you lose a bit of pressure. Late game, you become an absolute unkillable monster.
Trilogy going to secure himself his speed buff here after not getting the last one from that invade from Alpha Sydney. Blue buff is up as well for Cryoprator. We haven't talked about it too much in this game. It's really just sat in lane and farmed pretty effectively. Still only about 200 gold behind KO, so not a big deal at this stage in the game. Actually forced into the Somersault Cloud here very early on. Not sure what he was thinking there using the ultimate, because Slicey was nowhere near him.
And this gives a massive opportunity for KO and Slicey to come over here and take advantage of the fact that ultimate's going to be down for the next 90 seconds and just put a lot more pressure onto the solo lane. And with the buffs just respawning now, Cryoprator has to be very careful. Has to get Nemesis over here right away to get this blue buff.
Left-hand side, Taurus Guys took Pure Might while he was in the ultimate form as well, so Pure Might using his ultimate and dying. Very bad stuff there for Corvidae. Really, just that's a big element of their team fight as well. Actually, no, it's still on cooldown, so he didn't actually put that on cooldown. So that's not too bad, actually, but still, a kill on the left-hand side going to mean a lot of pressure. Classification with the low amount of health amount that he's on, can't really defend here. Now Alpha City turn their sights to the Gold Fury. If they don't get this, they're going to get a lot of poke onto the left-hand side tower, but it looks like they should be able to secure this one pretty easily. Lurking the Waters, not used to the best of effect, but he's just getting it down low enough to get into the Wrath threshold.
Yeah, that was the teleport from KO just forced that entire Gold Fury fight there. Pure Might died, teleports over immediately because they recognize they have an opportunity to use the Gold Fury. Tori's guy's gonna get stunned out here, gonna get Divine Judgment, he's gonna get blown to smithereens, but Calcification's the one that's gonna die first.
Slicey picks up the kill there. Memmer's knocked away as well. Excellent pick there from Alpha Sydney. Very, it was a little bit messy, but it was just very precise. They knew what they wanted to achieve a fight in the mid lane.
And Tori's guys had a lot of ultimate stuff into him, and just still manages to live throughout the entirety of the burst coming out from Corvidae. It's not looking good for them right now. If you can't kill the support when he's not got that many protections online and isn't that tanky at this stage of the game with the Nemesis, imagine what you're not going to be able to do in the late game when he's got 4 or 5 items.
I don't think it was an inability to tank. They got Tori's guys down very low, but it was mainly the peel coming out from the rest of Alpha Sydney. They've actually got a surprisingly good amount with the Poseidon and with the Susano. With the Susano, you've got the knock-up, obviously, with the Typhoon, and you've got a pull-in. With the Poseidon, you've got the Whirlpool, which slows and cripples, but you've also got the Tidal Surge, which knocks up people, and we actually saw Swifty knock up 2 people there at the end of that fight to save the life of Tori's guys.
The pressure coming out onto Swifty though for Calcification with that belly flop and burp combination. And I see that Swifty's going to go into the uncommon sash, could go into a Warlock sash and start stacking that one up, or could go into the Gem of Isolation, which was buffed very, not recently, but it got its most recent buff in a price reduction down to 2,700 gold. I don't think it's going to be built up as a second item, but look for it to be possibly building that 4th or 5th.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Gem of Isolation here, though, from Swifty. And if you think about the context of the team he's against, Nemesis and the Agni both have dashes. If you can slow them down even more in the middle of that Whirlpool, you're going to apply even more ticks of damage, going to allow Susano, even the Cracker coming out of Poseidon himself, to do even more damage.
What's more, Poseidon is an early mid-game burst god and then transitions into a late-game utility, because he may not be doing so much damage, and his Kraken makes him a one-trick pony. So that extra slow coming out from the Whirlpool, that extra bit of CC, means that it's going to be a lot more effective in the late game.
What we can see, both of these mid laners have got the tiny trinket. Desecrator's actually upgraded it to a Talon trinket. So both of them could be going, well, Desecrator is definitely, they're both going, sorry, a lifesteal kind of path here. I actually really like the path coming out from Desecrator because it's going to give him an early-ish power spike, and he's getting poked out a lot by Swifty and by Slicey, so it's going to give him a little bit of extra damage.
I mean, there's 2 options that you could go into this. You could go into the Bancroft's Talon, which is what most people associate with this item, or we can go into the recently buffed Pythagorean's Piece. And with a Freya and Bacchus on your team, 2 high damage magical-based gods, I wouldn't be surprised to see that one picked up.
The Bancroft's Talon especially is where I was going with that one, especially on the side of Desecrator. We could see it with Swifty as well. It wouldn't surprise me. Neath ultimate coming out as well. Tori's guys doesn't manage to get the pluck on. There's a Typhoon from Swifty. Nemesis ultimate comes out as well, and Slicey is now forced to dash away. Casification, though, being slowed by the Lurking in the Waters. He's taken to 50% HP, uses the sprint. Pulled back in, though, by Slicey. A lot of damage applied to this Bacchus, and he falls down to the Susano jungle.
And again, the Bacchus' inability to escape the mistiming of the sprint, I would say, just means that he falls down once when he's alone. A lot of pressure onto his mid tower with KO getting in. The Kraken comes out and Desecrator is no more.
Absolutely demolished there. Pure Might pulled in again, up into the ultimate form, just barely living for now, but he's not going to live for long as KO gets him under the tower with the pin. Cryopraetor up into the skies with the Somersault Cloud. Tier 1 tower in the mid has fallen down. Now it looks like the Tier 2's falling down, and we just hit 12 minutes in the game.
This is a lot of pressure around the map given by these 2 towers falling down. I mean, there's nowhere that they can stay to defend the 2 major map objectives in the Gold Fury and Biogiant. There's nowhere they can group and then defend both the lanes from anymore, apart from the mid Phoenix, which will allow them to defend the Tier 2s. The Tier 1s are open and almost free right now for Alpha City to take.
Left-hand side, Tier 1 being focused down. Slicey as well now, so a lot of objectives falling down for Corvidae. Trilogy here looking to get something here, but both of them actually missing a lot of their skills there. But Trilogy managing to save the Tier 1 tower on the left-hand side for now.
That just shows you how very slippery Susano is. The fact that he was caught out by a Nemesis and still got away using his abilities with 0 poke applied to him.
Trilogy there uses the Nemesis ultimate, the Divine Judgment, onto Rana Barana, but Rana backflips and gets away from all the damage. So that's essentially, he didn't even use his beads there.
Oh no, he did use his
Oh,
purification,
he did use
but
his purification.
counterfication with a slight mistime on that, Bell should have gone, so otherwise it would have been a nice stun and possibly a kill.
Well, even then, since he used his purification, that's actually a worth trade because the Divine Judgment this stage is only on about a 70-second cooldown. So, not too bad considering purification's got a 160-second cooldown. He's also actually coming through onto Trilogy here. He's trying to get in the way to block it. Not going to be able to do so. Backflip into the Kraken, but Trilogy actually walks out of it because Swifty misplaces the Whirlpool. Typhoon comes through. Tick damages onto Trilogy, but a nice meditation from Cry Predator keeps his jungler alive for now. Pure Might going in with the Pulse, but Slicey uses Purification to avoid the slow. Pure Might trying to run away. We could see the Gem of Isolation at work there, and actually uses his Valkyrie's Discretion, but there was no follow-up there from Alpha Sydney.
That's the power of the Gem of Isolation, that extra slow, that 25% slow applied, means that, oh god, they're going to be chasing down on me because I am moving not on my full speed, and now I'm going to die. Alpha Sydney destroyed the gold field with a nice Soda triple talk coming out from KO.
Yeah, very nice there against his former team. Taunts them in, heals back up, keeps them away from the Gold Fury. Alpha Sydney secure their second Gold Fury of the game, and as we look at the graphs, 9,600 experience, 8,500 gold, the difference between these two teams. And it's not looking great for Corvidae. This is very much the story of their last split in the OPL, as well as they seem to be able to contest a couple of things early, but as we move into the mid stages of the game, it all starts to fall apart.
I'm going to look at the player damage as well. Bottom three, Freya, Nemesis, and Bacchus going from bottom to third bottom in that order. And when your Nemesis is doing second least damage in the game below your support, it hasn't been much of an effective pick, and it warrants the question, was this really worth the first pick?
I don't think so, especially when Susano was still on the board. And we saw Alpha Sydney snatch it up. We've seen the amount of work that Slicey's been able to do with it. His third top damage, but beyond that, really, it's been a lot of the setup for the rest of his team. That the taunt in that he's been able to do quite effectively with his Wind Siphon. It's just been incredible, and he's managed to taunt people into Krakens and into even just Whirlpools or even Sobek damage with Sickening Strikes. So I really like what Slicey's done with the Susano this game. I mean, really, that's just what Susano offers overall.
I'm deciding, he's building a Fatalis.
I like it. It's the Harrowin build. Case off the mark again with the belly flop, but the Kraken from Swifty. Some self-peel there from the Alpha Sydney mid lane, and Desecrator just barely misses the bomb because Swifty, he had a sprint applied to him there from Tory Skies, which managed to just get him out of bomb range. Slicey here, fighting Trilogy in the jungle. Trilogy reflecting a lot of that damage back, but Slicey manages to get himself away. KO rotating over in the jungle here, looking to help his team out, but Mink's form back into the lane. That was ridiculous. We just saw an Ox charge a Mink.
Alright, you want to know exactly what's safe Poseidon? An extra 7% movement speed of Fatalis. Nice build, nice build.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth. It's already paid for itself. It's already paid for itself.
He doesn't die. He must be counting his lucky start on that one. And once he gets his Fatalis fully built up, there's going to be no killing him.
So I'm very interested. Yes, so Swifty is actually his Trident second after his Whirlpool. So a lot of people like to do this because the Trident just gives you so much extra movement speed, it's so much extra damage per your basic attack hits. When you add that on, when you activate that essentially that buff to your basic attacks, and with the Fatalis, he's going to be able to stick to people very nicely and apply a lot of damage.
Well, the group pick of Corvidae hasn't been at the level of Alpha City, but it hasn't been to a level where you say, oh, they need to look at this and improve it because it's the thing that's costing them game after game after game. It's been good. It's been to the point where they can look for picks like they're looking on the KF right now. They're going to find it.
That's good. It's been a little bit of a while since they've got it, but they might pay for it here. Cry Predator just immediately going up into Somersault Cloud. Swifty lays down the Whirlpool. Cry Predator jumps back down into his tower range. If Corvidae can survive here, if they don't give up a kill, that's going to be very good for them because they need that little bit of confidence back. Here comes Caseification jumping on to Slicey. Swifty there uses the Kraken. Trilogy taken very low here, but Caseification uses it and Toxicate. Pure Might gets himself a kill. So Corvidae coming back here, storming down the right-hand side. Taurus Guy's stunned in place there, taking a lot of damage, but now lurking in the waters, going to mitigate a lot of that damage. But Corvidae get themselves 2 kills here. They need to not overextend, however, and give up a pick in return.
Well, right now they're 2 versus 5. Trilogy is about half HP though, so he's got to be very careful, especially with this Neath rotation from Rana Barana. And Alpha Sydney, they could defend this tier 1. Ooh, good route there.
Teleport in on the right-hand side, coming through from KO. So now Sydney's back in numbers here. This could be dangerous for Corvidae. Slicey taking a fair bit of damage there, but so was Desecrator. KO chasing after. Here comes the Neath ultimate. Excellent purification from Desecrator. Saves him from a lot of the damage. Cryoprator trying to help out his support. Casification here manages to keep him alive. But this tier 1 tower on the right-hand side probably going to fall when all is said and done.
It was a good play there, though, by Swifty to go in. Yes, he got himself poked out a lot, but he managed to force out a lot of poke onto Desecrator, which forced the Neath ultimate onto him, and then forced the rest of Corvidae back. It was a nice meta play, and it allows him to get this tier 1 tower on his right-hand side.
Taking a look at the graphs, though, 12,000 experience, 10,000 gold. This is a problem for Corvidae. I'm trying to see where the deficits are, and it's everyone but Cryo, actually. Pure Might, Casification, Desecrator, and Trilogy, all pretty much 3 levels behind their counterpart.
Oh, Trilogy, nice sanctuary there to avoid the damage from the Kraken. The Slicey, well out of position. Casification getting the first kill of this fight. They may be 10,000 gold behind, but they are fighting as if they're even.
That's very strange to me that they're going in now with the deficit they have and actually finding success. You know, with this amount of experience and gold difference, you'd expect Alpha Sydney to really be winning these fights quite easily. Good pin over the wall there from KO. There's the Divine Judgment from Trilogy. Pure Might picks himself up a kill, and now the scores are only 1 away from being level here. And Corvidae, I mean, they're down, but they're not out.
It's more on Alpha Sydney, though. They're the ones taking very weird engagements. They're the ones that are going far too aggressive going into the enemy jungle, going past the tier 2s that are still open. Trilogy taking a lot of damage from KO, though, and Casification is going to fall down to KO.
And now Trilogy taking a fair bit of damage from Rana Brana. Creditor caught in the whirlpool here. Here's the Fatalis from Swifty, but Desecrator manages to dash away. Rana Brana Worldweave ultimate. Good purification, though, from Desecrator. Keeps himself alive, but Cryoprator is now being chased down the route off the mark there, but the Mink lands. The whirlpool's there. Oh, he's knocked out by the tidal surge, but Swifty still going to be able to get the kill.
I mean, that's the power of Fatalis General Isolation. You can dance around people with your Shrine.
He's got speed buff.
Oh my god. How much movement speed has he got right now?
He's so fast. He's got 621 movement speed. He's just activated Trident with that. So he's got 621 movement speed with Trident.
Now
and
then 254.
That's a very fast Poseidon.
It's a very impossible Poseidon to escape from, and the Fire Giant's going to make it even worse as he's then going to be able to kill you that much quicker.
So Corvidae there, we were just talking that they managed to be managing to win a couple of these fights despite being down so much, but they pressed their luck really trying to take that tier 1 tower in the mid with people from Alpha Sydney respawning too quickly for them to be able to effectively take the tower. Casification tanked way too much damage and was blown up pretty much by Alpha Sydney.
If you're 10k ahead and you lose a fight, you may lose a tier 1 tower. You might most likely will lose just kills. If you're 10k behind and you lose a fight, you're going to lose the Fire Giant, you're going to lose your buffs, you're going to lose more structures than you can take. And it's just the issue with being this far behind.
Alpha Sydney going to take away the Gold Fury here. I really like taking the Gold Fury when you're ahead. Not only is it more gold in your pocket, but it's denying farm to the enemy. It's denying potential ways for the enemy team to get back into it. You know, with the Fire Giant, really you're looking to take down towers, but Alpha Sydney's already taken down a whole host of towers. They've got a fair while left on this buff, so they can afford to do this. Desecrator caught out of position, nowhere near a tower or any of his teammates. Burn all of his relics. Typhoon comes in, knocks him up, bombing himself on the spot, but not going to be able to do anything here. Accepting his fate, falls down. KO credited with a kill. Mid lane Trilogy fighting Rana Brana, but Rana Brana going to be able to backwhip away from the majority of the damage. Alpha Sydney going through, clearing out the jungle of Corvidae, and now they're looking to take the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side.
And Rana Brana was the recipient of the Divine Judgment. He's going to be A-okay because of the Fire Giant buff and the Unravel heals, as well as the Asti. There's a lot of sustain coming out, and KO, he's not going to be sustained for too much longer. Pure Might on that late game Freya.
I mean, that's the problem when you have the warrior tanking the tower and your tank isn't there. I'll take it for as long as you might think, and you know, really they just overcommitted there to a tower, and with a Freya that's starting to come online, that's got some damage now, got a demonic grip online. It's not great. You really need your Sobek there to tank up more of that damage, and you know, KO just overcommitted. He overstayed his welcome.
Well, I've been talking to a couple of solo laners from Europe recently, and they said, and I asked them, what are 2 picks you don't want to see coming out as we see a couple of fights breaking out? Pure Might, very low. Torius guys forcing the ultimate there from Pure Might.
Unable to get any damage down from it either, which is really unfortunate. but Rana Brana picks up Trilogy as well. Bombs coming down from Desecrator. Slicey is literally just running through Alpha City, trying to get towards Desecrator. Knocked up by Case Vacation. World Weaver actually body blocked there by Desecrator. It was intended for Case Vacation. That is so unfortunate for the mid laner as he falls down to Slicey. And now Alpha Sydney pressing in on the right-hand side.
The Slicey Wind Cypher there actually plucked Desecrator into the path of that World Weaver. So whether that's a meta play or whether that was just a pure coincidence, I do not know, but Pure Might, he's the one going to fall down.
And the right-hand Phoenix as well, falling down. Case stuns out one, but it's not enough. Swifty coming back down the mid lane as well. Alpha Sydney take 2 Phoenixes down. Now they're going to be looking for the tier 2 tower on the right, potentially even another Phoenix if they're feeling daring.
I think they can get the Phoenix, but as I was saying before, I was talking to a couple of solo laners, and I asked them, what are 2 picks you do not want to see as a solo laner? And they, pretty much every single one of them said Freya and Nemesis, because they will just kill you as a solo laner. There's not too much you can do. Like, the 3rd pick was Alquang, but we don't really see too many Alquangs, because he's banned pretty much every single game. But now it's starting to see why, because Freya absolutely demolished the HP bar of KO.
And KO, it's not like he didn't have any protections online either. He's just picked up Heart of the Urchin, but he did have Pestilence. 80 magical protection in and of itself. So even with that, pretty hefty defensive item, the Freya still did a lot of damage.
I mean, that's the power of just base damage coming out from a very, very late game god in Freya. I mean, can't really do too much early, but he can look to fight around the mid game. Late game, anything that even looks at you wrong will just get 2-shot by basics.
Alrighty. Now 24.5 minutes in the game, 7-13. Read the kills in favor of Alpha Sydney. Graphs tell a very similar tale. 18k experience, 17k gold, all going the way of Alpha Sydney. I have to say, in Corvidae's defense, this has been a closer game than what we've usually seen out of Corvidae.
And the graphs don't really tell the entire story of this game as well. Corvidae have been able to fight into this massive lead that Alpha Sydney have just grown and grown and grown. And they've had some plays where they've actually been on top. It's just, the goalie's just been insurmountable, and it's just been relentless.
Look at Swifty chasing after Desecrator. See how fast he was there? Oh my goodness, I thought he was going to catch him for a sec.
Desecrator even used a dash to get away, and Swifty's just like, no, you're coming back here, you're going to die to me, please.
Fire Giant respawning in 10 seconds here. Alpha City set up quite nicely for this one. They have the vision control around this objective. Looking at the side of Corvidae, no Wraths online for them. Really, the only steal potential they have is from the Bacchus Intoxicate. But Alpha Sydney looking to fight here. Case Vacation's already fallen down. Kraken Swifty just lays out on top of him to prevent any damage coming through from Trilogy. Trilogy manages to heal a lot of that damage from that Retribution shield, but Swifty, look at how fast he is. Good stun there from Cryprater. Slicey in from the backline, comes out of the jungle like an assassin and takes out Desecrator. Trilogy trying to stay alive with a Retribution shield, but Pure Might falls down. Cryprater kills Swifty, but KO gets Trilogy, and now it's all Cryo left alive. Forced to bird form away out of that form. Slicey looking to chase him down, dashes after him, pulls him back in with the Wind Siphon, but this is not the important part. The Titan's under attack. So Slicey not allowing Cryo to back, meaning his team can take this Titan for free.
And he's still chasing away. There is no escape from Susano with his 4% movement speed. Every ability down from his passive. Bacchus is back at base, doing his best. His best is dying, but the Titan is also going to follow suit.
That is going to be game number 1 there between Alpha City and Corvidae. Bit of a rough outing for Corvidae there. As we said, showed some flashes of improvement, showed some flashes of being able to fight into a deficit, but in the end of the day, Alpha Sydney's still, showing up pretty strong. And I actually really like the addition of KO. Seemed to make a big impact. No shade at Shuix, but he was definitely one of the weaker links on this team. And Alpha City was only 1 game away from missing LAN last split, with a roster looking as strong as it did in that game. And there's 4 spots at LAN this split, and Alpha City is looking to fill one of them.
And, well, with the performance there, they could potentially just have to work on some of their issues. I mean, they had the gold lead for a lot of that game, and it still looked like they were even. I mean, 10,000 gold ahead and you lose a fight, that sort of thing shouldn't be happening if you're a top 4 team.
Too true. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break here. Back with game number 2 between Corvidae and Alpha Sydney.